Yeah, hey Matt, how are you?
Good.
How come your team had so much success against Iowa last year, and how can you continue that this year?
Um, well, in the first game, we shot really well. So I think we just fed off, um, getting out to a really good start. We made a bunch of threes. Then it just kind of snowballed from there. It was just one of those home games where everything went our way and everything, went against them. We got all the breaks, bounces, ball was going in. And I think you have, a couple of those games every year just happened to be that one. And then at the end of the year, obviously that was a desperately needed win for us. And I thought our guys did a good job of being quick to the basketball, just being aware of what was going on. But it wasn't one of those perfect games for us. Like, you go back and watch it, which I did other day, and we have a lot of breakdowns in that game. We also were very fortunate. They had some looks that they were making pretty consistently throughout the year. When we blow a coverage, they'd end up with an open shot, and then they missed a handful of those that they normally make. Kind of similar to their Gonzaga game. Like, there's Gonzaga was 10 for 15 from three in the first half, but Iowa has some looks that just they normally make, and that game was kind of the same way. Like, we were fortunate a couple of those didn't go down. And then when they didn't, we tried to shrink our defense as much as possible and just be aware of Garza was at all time and be aware where their shooters are. And I think they're a different team this year. Obviously, with Bohannon back, it allows them to keep more skill on the court, experience. And with that being said, like they can go a couple different ways. They can go bigger, like they did about half the game with Nunji and Garza against Gonzaga. They can go smaller. They brought Tucson in, and he had 14 and got to the rim and gave him that quickness, that athleticism. But they're a very skilled team. Obviously, one of the best players in the country, if not the best. And they're just a really tough cover.
How does not only your bigs, but your whole team deal with both Garza's energy level around the basket, but also his ability to step out and shoot?
Well, first of all, you got to play hard. He sprints the floor. He's physical. You have to be able to show your hands and not let him bully you to the basket. Like, he'll just make moves and just physically overwhelm people. So you got to be in legal guarding position to start with. If you're behind or he's got an angle or, you can't move your feet, east and west, like he's gonna get to what he wants to get to, whether that's a layup, dunk, post move. If you can't close out as a big guy, he's just going to shoot. Or he's going to shoot right over you. Sometimes guys do a good job, and he's still, with that high release and quick release, he can shoot there. So, you have to, be ready to play. You got to be in a stance, be able to guard someone on the perimeter, be able to guard somebody inside, and then match, that intensity level, that effort that he brings. He plays very hard. He empties his tank, and that's what, we challenge our guys to do. And, this is a big challenge. Can you do all those things and not foul him and stay in the game? And there's a lot of people out there that cannot do that. So this is a big challenge for both of our bigs, but really our team, because if, you're not going to stop him, but you can slow him down. I think that's been proven across, this league when you've had, great players like Draymond Greens or Evan Turners or Etuan Moore, Juwan Johnson or Jared Sullinger. And those, man, you weren't stopping those guys, but you can slow those guys down a little bit. You can make it harder on them, or at least make them earn things. Don't give them 14 free throws. Don't let them have 5 point blank layups. Don't let them have putback layups. Don't let them have run out layups. Like, now just make him earn it. The thing about him is he's so skilled, and he'll still earn it. He'll still get it. But make those be his baskets. If he's getting a little bit and having that smorgasbord where he has all those things I just mentioned, it's probably a long night for you, for the opposition.
You see anything different in your juniors now as opposed to before Miami? You obviously had some pretty pointed words about them after the Miami game.
Well, it's frustrating. You have experienced guys, play with a purpose. I think that's what they've done a better job with. I don't think we've arrived in that area, but play with a purpose. Be able to play the game without turning it over. Be physical without fouling. Like learn from what's happened before. Understand the nuances of the game. Like, I got freshmen on our team. Like, I try to talk to them about the nuances of the game and what's going on and what's getting ready to happen. and they look at me like I got horns coming out of my head. Those guys can't look at me like I got horns coming out of my head when I'm saying the same things I've said to them before. The game doesn't change. Your opponent will change. Maybe the scouting report will change a little bit, but the game doesn't change. You still play hard. You still play the game and try to rebound with two hands. You still hit people before they hit you. You still, play on 2 feet when you're in a crowd and make fundamental passes and fundamental decisions. So I just think they've done a better job with that. I think they've just been more steady, taking what things are giving you, less is more. With the majority of the guys you coach, less is more. Like, just keep things simple, play to your strengths, and good things are going to happen. I do think there is a part of each individual guy, whether it's conscious or subconscious, as they try to reinvent themselves in the off season, whether that's through hard work or osmosis. They just we all want to become something a little bit greater than what we really are, when in reality, who you are is good enough. And so each one of those guys just, one guy doesn't need to dribble as much. The next guy needs to, know who he's guarding, at all times, be clean in switches, things of that nature. So I just think they've, been more reliable. They've been more steady and, just more accountable, really. And they've really played well here, since that Miami game.
Just one last question for me, just out of personal curiosity. What's been your balance between motion and calling plays this year offensively, especially lately?
Yeah, well, it depends on hits and misses. Obviously on makes, we run sets. On misses, we will try to get into motion more. But sometimes when you can see there's nothing that's going to, come about it right away, we'll go more to a set. It just depends. For me, when you deal with turnovers, I'll until you get that corrected, I'll just kind of stick on that. Because if you're going to run motion, it's going to be a more, even though we have rules, you're going to have more, more freedom. And if you can't handle that freedom, then we run more sets. But if you're just more efficient running sets, you should run them. If you're more efficient running motion, you should run it. So we like to have a balance, because you're not going to be able to get everything that you run. Right. And then when you don't, who are you as a team? When there's 13 seconds on the clock, who are you? Are you sprint up and set a ball screen and that's all you do? Or can you get some post-ups, or can you get some screening action away from the ball, some penetrating pitch? What can you do? You hope to have a balance of all those things and be able to play. But sometimes you're not as good as one thing as the other. But, you just got to kind of evolve and work towards it.
Right. Do your young guys know your system enough to do motion the way you want to do it at this point?
Yeah, they know, whether they, want to cut hard or,
right.
Depends on how people are defending us. People are switching sizes, or switching everything. They're switching nothing. Mm-hmm. They're getting on top of down screens. You got to handle how you're getting defended and then cut accordingly and be able to play. There's no different than, running the set. You're running something and you want it to look like something. And you're just manipulating the defense. Right. You see it all the time in football, with guys, going one way and then coming back. We do a lot of that against the zone, where you do a lot of misdirection type stuff. It's, you just got to be an actor. You got to set good screens. You got to set your man up. You're just trying to manipulate the defense and what you're doing, and whatever they take away, now you got to react to that and then go to the next action. So they're good in breakdown. The younger guys are pretty good in breakdown. But once you get into the game, sometimes they're ball watchers. They don't move off the dribble. They don't set their man up on cuts. So you just got to keep working on the details of things.
I'm good. Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Harmon? Yeah, just a couple things, Matt. Just did Saturday's game against Notre Dame show you that you can get in a up and down type of game, assuming your turnovers stay around that same level, and you feel confident that if that transpires on Tuesday, that you guys can handle it?
Well, I don't know about getting an up and down game with Iowa. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, and I don't know if we got into an up and down game with Notre Dame per se, when situations created themselves, because they didn't have very many turnovers either. We tried to, push the basketball, but we would do that against anybody. We're going to do that against Iowa. We would do it against any Big Ten team. When you face good teams, your ability to score before their defense gets set is important, but also your ability to recognize that it's not a good shot, then you got to run offense is important too. So that balance and that understanding because I think it's what it comes to when you're playing any team, especially a team like Iowa, because if you get into this game and you say it's got a high level of possessions, I think that would favor Iowa. And it's not that we're going to walk the ball up the court, because we're not. But we have to have a balance. But we also have to have the understanding of, when to hold them and when to fold them.
And I just wanted to ask about Christmas Day. How did that come about from the coach's standpoint? Was that an idea from you guys, or somebody at the Big Ten, or somebody else?
Yeah, well, it's just conversation, and just, wanted to figure out if, our players, would be on board with it, because obviously, we just came to a real consensus that, our guys going home was not a good idea, for guys to leave and then have to come back and then also, start over. And then from a testing standpoint, so we're like, okay, if they're going to be on campus and then we're just not going to play, like, now that's going to be tough. Why can't we set this up to where we have an opportunity to play? And we've all watched Christmas Day games, NBA games, and just that exposure. And we thought that was pretty cool. And so then when we reached out to our guys, our players were all for it. And so, like, I think when you look at the players more than anything, they've sacrificed. Like, they've had to sacrifice in this situation, and they've done a really good job. We all know it's not going to be perfect. But don't let it stop something that's good. Like, this is good in my opinion. But is it perfect? No. Like, when coaches, speak out and say, like, I think we need to have a pause, or, we're going to step away. Like, you understand why. Like, you understand, all the reasons why. It makes sense. But is it the best thing? Maybe it's the best thing for them. But we thought collectively, with our conference, just like our protocol and testing, we thought that was the best thing to do. And I think it's showing that it is, but you're still going to have hiccups. It's not perfect, but it is pretty good. I think this is the same thing. Like, is this perfect? No. You want your guys to go home for 4 days and be with their family like a normal situation, but this isn't a normal situation. So we did the best thing that we thought, and our players agreed with it, at least the ones that are playing, on Christmas Day. But, like, hell, this is easy for me. Like, I get to be in West Lafayette, Indiana. I'm not the program or the coach that has to now travel and go play a road game on Christmas. So now it's tougher for those guys. So I appreciate our league. I appreciate our guys and what they did, but I really appreciate the players on the other teams that have to travel and go on the road at this time and not be with their family. So this is difficult. It's not a perfect thing, but I do think that our guys and the players in this league that made this decision to play on these days, I do think it was the right thing for us.
All righty. Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else for Coach Painter?
Thank you.